Thank you so much for joining the Metro Caucus Minority Caucus meeting on Monday, May 11th. We're going to call the meeting to order, and we have a few guests with us today. But first, I think we need to call the roll, and somehow I have lost my participant list. So the roll would be Antoinette Lee.
I'm here.
Brandon Taylor.
Present.
Taneka Virtue.
Present.
Alicia Porterfield.
Present.
Jennifer Gamble. Joy Stiles.
Present.
Quante Toombs.
Present.
Zolfat Swara.
Present.
Jonathan Hall. Jonathan Hall. Sandra Sepulveda.
Present.
I think that's it. Thank you all so very, very much. And please bear with me. So we do have as our guest today, Mary Jo Wiggins, who's our Deputy Finance Director, and she was coming to us to speak on COVID-19 funding. Ms. Wiggins, thank you so much for joining us, and you have the floor.
Fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll give you just a little bit of my background. I am actually fairly new to the finance leadership team. I actually joined Metro mid-February, just 2 weeks before the tornado. And that was actually one of the first things then that I started working on. My background for the last 16 years, I was the CFO at the Red Cross and United Way. So particularly with the Red Cross, the EOC and disaster response was not new to me. And so it was a little bit of a nice fit and a familiarity with a lot of the organizations that we would be working with in the tornado response. And so I continue to work with the disaster recovery specialists that are here to help Metro with the both insurance and FEMA filing. And then as they were here to work on the tornado response, we then moved quickly into the COVID response. And so working not only with those consultants as a bit of a guide, we have now been just working with everything we can get from a federal perspective on guidance. And I can walk you through a little bit of what we know today. And then we've also I've been working with not only the administration, but looking at everything we can get a hold of from other cities to get as much clarity on this funding as we can. So that's a little bit about my background and how I started working in this area with the Metro Finance Department. I'll jump right into what we know about the CARES Act funding. The CARES Act actually encompasses several different revenue streams or funding streams for Metro. Most often we refer to the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which was in a direct allocation to Nashville as a city of over 500,000. We were fortunately able to receive some direct allocation. That is the $121 million that is often being referred to. But it's really important to also remember that we have some other revenue sources. We have almost $75 million for MTA and RTA. There is $26 million for MNPS. There is about $5 million so far that has been HUD money that will be managed by MDHA, but we do that in collaboration with them. And then there are some other smaller grants that we've already identified. The police department and fire department have each identified additional grant funds that they can use for PPE. And we continue to search for and wait for more guidance on how each of those different funding streams are going to either reimburse or provide funding. They all have different criteria. They have different timeframes that it either has to be spent by December 30th. Some overlap for a couple years. The transit money is actually even longer than that. So it's pulling together all of those pieces of the different funding sources and trying to optimize to make sure that we are meeting the public health emergency, that we are making sure we're taking care of our public safety workers, making sure that they are prepared, have what they need, that we can be prepared to open up back to the public, and also how can we meet community needs. And so I'm working with several puzzle pieces to put all of that together, and then also working with the administration to see what that overall plan will look like.
Okay, thank you so very much for your introduction. And if I could just be direct and candid, because I'm sure we would move into it. Historically, the minority community in Nashville has been overlooked when it comes to funding of this type and many other despairing efforts that have come historically. So I know that that is one of the major concerns of those who are on this Minority Caucus. And we also have guests who are specifically interested in the COVID funding. And I was negligent to not give the guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. So I would like to take this time to ask Clifton Harris from the Urban League of Middle Tennessee and Ashford Hughes to say hello.
Well, good evening to all the members. Thank you and all for allowing me to address the Minority Caucus today. My name is Clifton Harris, President and CEO of the Urban League of Middle Tennessee.
Thank you, Clifton. Ashford?
And thank you for allowing us to be on, Councilwoman at Large. Greatly appreciate this. For everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Ashford Hughes, formerly within the Mayor's Office as Chief Diversity and Equity Officer. Now I serve as the founder and president of Blueprint Solutions Group, LLC, focused on equity and inclusion, working with cities, nonprofits, and small businesses within our community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thank you so very, very much. So right now, what I'd like to do is recognize any questions from council members to Ms. Wiggins. And I'd also like to acknowledge that there have been some changes to our agenda. I don't think that Representative Harold Love has confirmed, so I don't think we will be hearing from him. And I'm not sure if our assessor of property, Vivian Wilhort, is on the call as well. We also had on the agenda COVID-19 privacy concerns listed on the agenda, and I will just move that up for all of that to be discussed at this time. The first hand that I saw was Council Lady Lee. You have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. And I really did not have a question. I would just like to ask the presenters when you're presenting, and you do, I'm sorry, I'm not good with acronyms. When you use a lot of acronyms, when you first say it, if you say what it was out before you just keep saying acronyms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council Lady Porterfield.
Hello, Council Lady at Large.
Yes.
This is Vivian Wilhoit. I thought that the system announced that I was on.
Oh, okay. No, I did not see you. I apologize. So we will give you the opportunity to speak. I apologize for that. Thank you so much for making me know that you were here.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Council Lady Porterfield, you have the floor.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair. My question was to the first presenter, Mary Jo Wiggins. Could you please go over those numbers again? I was trying to get them down as you were going through the various allocations to each department. If you don't mind going back over those numbers one more time so that we can capture that information. And then the second part to that question was, has there been any conversation as to what that spending will look like and what it will entail?
Yes, absolutely. So the numbers, the biggest number that folks have really been talking about, it's the local government Corona Relief Fund, and that is the $121 million. That's kind of the number that's getting thrown around the most. There is also funding from the Federal Transit Authority, FTA, provided funding for us with MTA and RTA. So Metro Transit Authority and the Regional Transit Authority that Metro collaborates on and provides some funding to. They received $75 million directly to the MTA, RTA, and are managing those funds. The second piece, or the third piece, is the $26 million that is the funding for K through 12. And that was received by MNPS. And again, they are managing those funds according to the criteria given to them by the Department of Education. There is also approximately $5 million that it was received from HUD, and that will be managed by MDHA. And that is predominantly focused on homeless populations. There was also a burn justice grant for 1.5 million that that's the police department grant for PPE,
For real.
which is the personal protective equipment, is PPE. And then likewise, the fire department also has access to a $1 million grant for PPE from FEMA. And then I didn't specifically mention this one, but there is also a $50,000 grant. I believe that was actually, that resolution already came before council.
I'm right here.
And that was for the National Endowment of Arts, which was providing a $50,000 grant for our Arts Commission.
Excuse me, Council, Assessor Wilhoit, would you please mute your phone or mute your computer?
So that was the first part.
Already done so. I realize it.
That was the first part. And then the plan. So let me just talk in general, a little bit more background, because yes, there is conversations about what does a complete plan look like for all of those funds. And just as a kind of helping to give a little bit of the history, early April, it was announced we would receive these funds. And on April 22nd, we did receive these funds, actually as an advance, and they are in a separate bank account, being completely isolated. And the acceptance of those funds is actually coming through council. And that was all that was received. Then we also received just 3 pieces of guidance. And the guidance was that these funds could be used for one-time direct expense out of pocket to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the COVID. They had to be spent between March 1st and December 30th, and they could not be accounted for in budget. And as you can imagine, that last piece is extremely restrictive. And that was the original piece of guidance that we received on April 22nd. And there have been a lot of conference calls with mayors, conference calls with the White House, conference calls with senators' offices, and a lot of information that's being exchanged through the different authorities to try to understand what does that mean. You may have heard, the mayor say, we're grateful for the funds, but they put them on a shelf so high, we wanted to make sure, that we could actually reach it. And so we've been able, gratefully, we've been able to respond to the immediate needs of not just the public health emergency, but making sure that we had the supplies, that we were cleaning our public spaces, not only for our employees, but those who still needed to do business with Metro. And so we're really
Thank you.
that
Ms. Wiggins, I apologize for interrupting. Someone else still has their phones or their computers muted, and I would ask you all to mute your phone. I mean, it's unmuted. Ask you to please mute your phones. And if you don't have a question, please remove your hand from being on the screen as that you have a question. And Ms. Wiggins, to that end, I would really like for the council members to have an opportunity to ask some questions. For I do know that the information that you're giving is good information, but I know there are some specific questions and concerns that the caucus has, and I'd really like to get to those because we only have a short window of time to go through each agenda item.
Sure. Okay. So
I'll
just take the questions. I'll just say that as additional guidance comes out, we're identifying more opportunities where the money can be spent. And so the additional guidance, really specifically from May 4th, which was just a week ago today, provided some additional guidance. So as that guidance comes out, the administration is looking to now have more information for that collaboration for a complete spending plan. So I'll say that and then just take questions.
Thank you. Council Lady Porterfield, your hand is up. Did you have questions after that initial breakdown of the funding?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. One quick follow-up question is with regards funding for the police department and PPE. There's been some concern about MNPD not having enough PPE. So how do they start accessing these funds, or how can we make sure that they're able to get the necessary equipment to keep the officers safe?
So I know that question was raised today, and not only did Chief Anderson is involved, but also Chief Swan with OEM. OEM is really our center for procurement for PPE, and the funds are available to be spent. So right now the spending is coming out of general fund, but there has been communication to all the departments to make sure that they have the cleaning supplies, sanitation, PPE. It's really getting access to the PPE that I believe it has been a little, the hardest part, but not the funds. Access meaning availability.
Thank you.
So I don't see any other hand. Councilman Taylor, is your hand raised?
Yes. Didn't see me?
I do not see. I don't even see your name.
So this is momentum. So is my hands up too.
Yeah, their hands
I don't even see y'all's names.
And council members go ahead, council member.
Warren, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ms. Higgins. A couple of quick questions. The first one that I wanted to ask, I know you said you're still receiving instructions on how the money could be used. Have you looked specifically into rental relief? I know that Houston and some other cities in Texas have already using the COVID funds to help people with their rent. So my first question is that something that you all are looked into, or will you be looking into it? That's my first question. I have another one if you want to answer that first.
Sure, I'll answer the rent. The recent guidance does give us eligibility for expenditures that are, it says very specifically that we can provide economic relief to those impacted through employment or business closures. And we do know that rent, utility, and food are all going to be deemed eligible under that. So I've shared that with the administration, and they look forward to seeing how we can provide that with these funds.
Okay. I'm sorry. The other thing is that you had mentioned that WeGo is getting 75 million. If I'm not mistaken, in some of the budget things that we've looked at, I've seen 25. Is that an additional 50 coming in that provides more money now in the budget?
The 75 is their total access. And what we did with the budget is there was $22.3 million of subsidy that we did not provide in the FY21 proposed budget, because they can use that 75 million that they've been awarded to sustain their operations at the current level. So because we were able to make sure that WeGo sustained their current operation level with that federal funding, that was something that we could eliminate from the budget in order for them to, to provide more funding in other areas of the budget, and that they would still be able to maintain operations. So the 22.
And my last question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so the 22.3 is part of that 75 million.
And so there's no extra additional coming in from the 75. It's already accounted for.
I don't believe that WeGo has completed an entire expenditure plan for that 75, but part of it will be that 22.3.
And my last question, so I can leave room for everyone, is that I know that with the state, when it comes to the CARES Act, the governor put together a group to be looking into how that money is being spent and things like that. On the local level, with the 121 million, is that something the administration will be okay with, to have a couple of people, maybe one or two council members or some other people that can actually help work on this and come up with ideas that work with everybody, so that we can make sure we don't want to send any of that money back. We want to make sure that we spend it. And I think if we're all looking at it, then we can all come up with great ideas. So is that something the administration will be willing to do? If so, I'll be more than happy to work on that.
Yes, I think the administration looks forward to that collaboration with the council, and I think you'll see that or hear that in the coming weeks as a plan gets put together. It would I think it would be helpful to have that collaboration between council and administration.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Council Lady Toombs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions. One, for the 75 million for MTA, RTA, does that have to be spent by the end of the year as well, or do they have a longer time period?
I believe they have a 5-year time frame on that. It's very different than some of the other resources, the other funding sources, but it is definitely not 1 year. And I believe when I was speaking with Steve Bland that it was actually 5 years.
Okay. And will Nashville General be receiving any COVID-19 funds?
They have. To date, they have received 875,000, and both of those amounts, they received that in 2 different payments. Health and Human Services from the federal Health and Human Services is driving that revenue, that funding source, and they used formulas. So it was based on some of their Medicare, and for us, TennCare were those first formula driven, and they have applied for additional funding.
And so that would be separate. Any funding that Nashville General gets will be separate from the 121 million?
Correct. It will be in addition to.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sepulveda.
Thank you, Chair. I think Zulfat asked the majority of my question, which was how was it going to be decided what funds were used for what, and if you all would have input. And I just wanted to follow up and ask if it would just be input from council members, or would you all also be seeking input from, organizations that are already on the ground, like Stand Up Nashville or Open Table or anything of the sort?
Yeah, I don't want to completely speak for the administration, but I know that the collaboration is going to be important. So it's going to be hearing from you via your constituents. And also then as we look to put some of the money to work directly into the community, I think that's where the biggest piece of then where is the greatest need and how to administer those funds.
Got it. And when can we expect a complete plan?
You know, I kind of need to leave that to the administration to determine that. I think what is important is that we meet the immediate needs and that we determine from the community, and also potentially make sure that we remain flexible for additional guidance. And the reason I kind of refer to that additional guidance is you can hear in the national press there's debate whether there will be any additional funding that might help from a revenue perspective. The one thing the CARES Act did not provide was any revenue replacement, but there is continued conversation on that, but there is no guarantee. There is conversation that perhaps if that doesn't come, that they will say, well, you can use what you have. So we want to remain flexible. So I know it's important to Mayor Cooper to get this money out. It also may actually be to our benefit, and we may get more flexibility with the funds if we wait for additional guidance. So it's a delicate balance between meeting the immediate urgent, public health crisis, and also making sure that we can optimize it. And I know that they're working on it as fast as they can, and also want to, consider other input in collaboration. So I think that's coming through, upcoming council meetings.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Wiggins, is there a itemized plan that, and I know Councilmember Sepulveda somewhat asked this question, but is there an itemized plan that we have in place now that we've presented to the federal government for what we're going to be doing with these funds?
No, there is not. The funding process was very unique. Again, the desire to get the money out quickly. There is no application process that says this is what we're going to spend the money on, and no green light to say that's all eligible, go for it. Instead, the process was a certification that Mayor Cooper had to sign that says he will certify that we will spend these funds only in accordance with the CARES Act and the guidance provided, and unused funds will be returned, and that we will be subject to an audit from the Office of Inspector General. So the funds have been received. They are actually segregated in a separate account, the 121 million, and the certification ultimately lies at Mayor Cooper's feet.
Is there a plan for Metro Action Commission to receive any of these funds that we have? And if so, how much, and how much time do we have for them to be able to use it?
So there is not a complete plan. So there isn't really a way to say who is receiving and who isn't. But I do want to point out that in addition to the 121 million and the other amounts that I have shared, there are 3 other funding sources potentially available to us that would actually fall within Dr. Kroom's and the Metro Action Commission, which is the low income energy assistance. There will be some additional funding there. There is additional funding for Head Start, and forgive me, I got to look up the third one. The Community Services Block Grant. So those 3 areas, Dr. Kroom has already identified as receiving information, and that's one of those that's going directly to the departments based on work that they've already been doing. And I haven't heard anything back from her recently if there's been a specific award made or if there's a specific time frame for which she has to apply for those grants. But we do have reason to believe that there will be additional funding either directly to Metro Action Commission through those funding sources, or access to some of that funding maybe through programs that we already provide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. My question is, will any money be designated to Metro Social Services? And I understand that United Way has received funding. Is that separate from the 121?
So social services will receive what used to be community partnership funds. So we had $1 million in spread out among 5 different departments. And so that 200,000 will actually still be awarded to those departments. It's not in their budget because it's going to be funded through CARES Act. And so they will go through a similar open application process, and they will ask for applications. And the one change we have to make for the process this year is the nonprofits who apply have to be serving families, individuals, students, those impacted by COVID. And I have talked to Renee Pratt and walked through that. And of course, the services being provided by the nonprofits that she typically partners with meet that criteria. So they will receive that funding. And there are also some other expenses. They have staff that are working at the homeless shelter, and we're making sure that we can get that staff back into their normal roles and provide outside staffing for those shelters. And it's that's not necessarily a direct benefit to social services, other than letting them get back to what they do every day. And then there was a second piece of that
United Way, the United Way funding.
Yeah, the United Way is managing funds that are being donated from the public and businesses and individuals, and that funding is completely separate. That's actually, again, corporate and personal giving that's being given to United Way, and they are making those distributions based on their criteria, and it's separate than the 121.
Thank you. So at this time, I would ask Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes if it's something that they wanted to contribute to this conversation at this time. We would welcome your comments.
Thank you, Council Lady at Large. I really do appreciate the opportunity to address the Minority Council today. And today I'd like to share with the Minority Caucus who prepares to plan for the administration or to administer this $121 million that has been earmarked from the CARES Act for COVID-19 in Nashville, Davidson County, as it pertains to Black communities. The Urban League has a national focus as well as a local focus, and we're calling for an equitable and transparent way for the mayor's office to be accountable for the CARES Act as it relates to the money that they have already received. We know that these funds cannot be used for any budget shortfalls. We know that it has to be COVID-related expenses, as Ms. Wiggins has pointed out. And we know that the time frame of the funds that have to be spent between March 1st through December 31st. And so the Urban League is calling for a 27% set aside to be used in the Black community, the following areas, because we know these funds comes based on census data of population. And the first area is education, in order to bridge the digital divide, work readiness, and college readiness for our students. The second focus is around economic and workforce development to increase economic activities and business investment for small businesses, business development, and to increase access to quality jobs. And the third focus area would be in the area of community health and education equity, in partnership with Meharry College to increase disease control with COVID-19 testing and the involvement to flatten the corona curve in African-American communities. Mr. Hughes, Ashford Hughes, is joining address the equity and the inclusion issues around these three areas, and we're preparing a full letter report, to a request to go to the mayor's office and copying the Minority Caucus, by the end of this week. And after Mr. Hughes, presents, I will answer any questions about the details of our proposal as it relates to education, economic development, workforce development, and community health. Mr. Hughes?
So thank you again, Madam Chair, for allowing us to be here today. As Clifton talked about, and I think he wants to reiterate as well, as the Urban League calls for an equitable and a transparent process, that the Urban League is positioning itself to be a partner with the Minority Caucus, to be at that table as we discuss and as the process is discussed moving forward. I think the Urban League, with this national focus and local focus, has a distinct advantage and an opportunity to really be of service to the community. When we look at the amount of dollars that is coming from the state with this money, the $121 million is based on the census. And it's only 2 cities in the state that are receiving this level of financial funding from this particular CARES Act portion, and that is Nashville and Memphis, based off of the population that we have over 500,000 residents here in this city. That is why the Urban League is calling for, when we talk about specific disproportionate impact versus the disproportionate investment that we need in our community, that 27% to be allocated to specifically the African American community. We look at education first, and in consultation with our school board, superintendent, with members of the education leadership, we know that the relief needed right now, which is also spelled out within the CARES Act, is that digital divide and the distance learning that we know many of our students, Black and brown, are unfortunately not being able to receive right now because of 2 things. One, many of our students don't have access to the computers and tablets to do the distance learning. And 2, even if they do have the tablets, many of them don't have access to broadband. And we can look along the lines of census tract, data from Google, data from Comcast, to look at where our students are that don't have access to the digital devices they need to do distance learning. This is why this is vitally important moving forward. Then we also look at, within education, the relief needed and expenses needed to make certain that those students are continued, especially this summer, to receive the access to food opportunities that we know they're going to receive now that we're uncertain if programs or summer programs are going to continue moving forward. These are 2 key issues that our school system is facing right now, that we can't just allow MNPS to try to cover the load on its own. And we feel an equitable distribution of these COVID funds will go to help bring relief to the schools and our students in this area. When we move on to economic equity and inclusion, we look at our small businesses within the Black and brown community. We know that the first $350 million that went to SBA, as we look at studies and the data around that many of our local Black businesses, our brown-owned businesses, did not receive access to that amount of funding. We know that also many of our businesses, such as hair barbershops and beauty salons, employ a lot of people within our community. Many of them have not been able to take advantage and find economic relief through this opportunity. So this is a chance that we can bring relief and bring whole these economic drivers in the Black community to make certain that there is an equitable and distributed process, that we don't miss out on this opportunity as well. We all see, as I pivot to the health portion, we all see that disproportionately the African American community has been hit hardest by COVID. So we know that our relationships and our partnerships with Meharry Medical College, with Metro General Hospital, are going to be very advantageous to us, finding relief and finding positive health outcomes to move our community forward over the next several months. If we don't receive an equitable distribution of funding, which is, I always say, this part of our tax dollars that are coming to the city based off of the census, then we will continue to see a disproportionate disadvantage for our community moving forward. We know that these funds cannot be set to create new programs, create higher wages in certain industries, but we do have the data, we do have the supports to say within this process, we know that there needs to be economic and social relief for our communities. And that $32 million will go a long way to assuring that the city can find trust, that the African American community, that our Black and Brown communities can trust that there is a equitable process taking place so that our communities don't continue to fall further behind. Um, I know that, and I heard Ms. Wiggins, and I'm thankful for her being on to acknowledge some of the things. I guess I was unaware that when I was looking at the package through the Treasury Department, that the city had to present a proposal to the federal department by April the 17th of this year. But if they haven't, I think that that opens up an opportunity that this minority caucus, working with the Urban League, working with others, as another councilwoman spoke of, Stand Up Nashville, the Equity Alliance, can look along the lines of how do we, again, look at disproportionate impact, which always affects the minority, particularly African American community hardest, and how do we create the opportunity to instill disproportionate investment to make certain that we are finding relief in these communities. So
Mr.
I would
Hughes.
again ask that, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hughes, we appreciate all of that information, but be mindful of everyone's time. I'd ask you to stop your comments at this particular point. I'm glad Ms. Wiggins was still with us so she could hear the concerns that have come from the community, and want to assure her that this will not be the last time that she hears from us, that we will work in tandem with her to make sure that we are having some equity appropriations to the funds that have been awarded to the city. If there are no other questions for Ms. Wiggins, I would give you the opportunity to release yourself from this meeting, and we certainly appreciate you joining us. Does any council members have questions for Ms. Wiggins? Not seeing any hands raised. I thank you again, Ms. Wiggins, and you are free to leave us at this time.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you to all of you for, asking the questions, sharing your concerns. I was taking notes, and I look forward to, sharing that with the administration and answer as many questions that come up in the future that I can, or at least, pass those through to those that can answer them. So thank you for your time and listening. I appreciate you.
And thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We appreciate you and the information that you provided.
Absolutely. Y'all take care.
Thank you. You too. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
All right. So now that we're going to move on, Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes, if you all would stay with us on the call, I would appreciate it. But I wanted to give our assessor of property an opportunity to make her presentation. Ms. Wilhord, you have the floor.
Hello, and thank you all, Council Lady at Large and Chair Hurt, and the many honorable council members on the line. I was requested to join this meeting and provide update regarding COVID-19. I did pursue to try to get additional information as to what you want information on, and I didn't receive any response to that. So at this moment, I can share with you what our office has been doing in reference to preparing for our mailer that is to due out on May the 20th, that would provide changes, notices to those property owners in Davidson County. And what our office has been doing since all of this uncharted water, basic water type of action has started. Would you like me to start there?
That would be perfectly fine. Did any council member have a specific question or concern that they wanted our assessor to address? Yes, Councilwoman Gamble.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Will Hoyt, for joining us today. I'm
My
not
pleasure.
sure if this is something you can answer, but knowing that will be a property assessment next year, and looking at the trends and looking at our current budget and the proposed property increase, do you have an idea of what the property assessments may look like, just based on trends and other information that you have?
From when we look at next year's reappraisals, as we look at it as of today, growth has been great for Nashville. Matter of fact, from the numbers that we've looked at, it looks like growth for Nashville is probably going to be the largest it has in the past three reappraisals. Now that could change, of course. We are, and I state that as of now because when you think about the impact of what has occurred, those impacts some have not been countywide, some have been has been impacts in acute areas such as North Nashville. And then you think about the impact of COVID-19, which remains to be seen in the sales data that will come out later on. We don't know the impact right now. I don't think you can find anyone that actually know of the impact fully, but it is showing its ugly head in reference to unemployment and what have you. But how does that communicate and translate into purchasing of property and establishing new construction? As you can see, you can look around and take a visual assessment and see very well those cranes are still flying in Davidson County, and they're still moving in Davidson County. Matter of fact, throughout the time of the city, when we were having our Safer at Home, there was still construction workers still being able to do certain works of various properties. I'm sure you agree with that. So we will not know until next year, because in a reappraisal, we look at the previous year's sales to establish market value. In a reappraisal, we must establish market values or the market value on approximately 260,000 parcels, improved and unimproved, meaning just the land. And from what we can tell now, values are very steady and continue to show upward climb. When it comes to commercial properties, there are about 26,000 commercial properties in Davidson County that we assess. Some of them are valued in one of three ways: the cost approach, the income approach, and the sales approach. The cost approach has to do with your ability of how you were being built and the value in reference to the cost of building in comparison to other values, to other buildings. The income approach has to do with income producing properties. Well, you do know that income producing properties like hotels, they may be utilizing the fact that they were not being able to have occupancy, full occupancy, or historical occupancy as they've done now, as been done in previous year. So we look at the income approach for those type of properties. And then a sales approach is where we compare like properties with other properties that recently sold, which says to a property owner what their property would bring on an open market. So all of that remains to be questionable until next year, because of course the city is trying to reopen safely. And in their attempt in doing so, the economy could rebound. We don't know yet. So it all remains to be seen, but we are preparing for our plan of possibilities. But right now, Council Lady, growth is growing, is swinging upward. And that is something that we're seeing from looking at numbers today of how it is showing where we are.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Swarrer, did you have any more questions, Councilwoman Gamble?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Swarrer?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Vivian, for being on the call.
Hey, Council Lady. Nice to talk.
Hey, same here. I know you've addressed this. I've heard you talk about this before, but I just wanted you to speak to this for those that are watching and listening. We just went through a tornado that destroyed people's home.
Mm-hmm.
The properties would not be assessed until next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so on record, these homes have values as of before the tornado. Mm-hmm. And so how will the taxes for this year be calculated? Because if my house is flat zero, do I still have to pay based on that property taxes before, or the property value before
yes.
the tornado?
Okay. Sure. That's a very good question. That is one of the tools in the toolbox of laws that we utilize. Property valuation that at a post-damage values, with post-damage values. The Tennessee Code annotated 675, 603, and it could be 603. What it will allow us to do as the assessor of property is to look at the damaged properties of residential and commercial, and also industrial properties. Of course, we do also industrial properties, which is the same as commercial in a sense. And we look at that condition based on its condition after the tornado. September 1 is a date you want to always keep in mind. This is whether it be a house that caught on fire, not just the tornado, but any property that's been damaged prior to September 1, and it is not restored or replaced by September 1. I, as the assessor, with my amazing staff, will assess a value to that damaged property. So the property, if it was worth $100,000, let's keep it simple, prior to September 1, it is damaged, and the building is uninhabitable. Let's say it's a business. When September 1 comes, and that business has not been restored to where it's back operating, it will be assessed according to value without the building. And that is something you also must consider, not just for commercial, but also for residential. You consider the thought of the number of properties that was damaged prior to September 1 and not be inhabitable or not be operative by September 1. Those numbers, that assessment in value of which a person will pay taxes on, comes off of the tax roll. So we have yet to see what is going to be the status of who will be able to get their property up and running by September 1, who will be able to replace a whole roof on their house if they paid their insurance. Their insurance has not lapsed. If that house is uninhabitable, we must adjust it accordingly. So you do know that people, fortunately, had insurance. People want to be back in their homes. Let's just use homes as an example. Once that roof is back on the home and the property has been repaired, or you could say improved, because as you know, the property is better than it was before the storm. We will also be looking at that as well. But we're very cognizant of what is going on. And so we have the authority under the law to be able to make certain assessments. So that is Tennessee Code annotated 603. That also applies to personal property for the commercial properties. You have, for people who have businesses, which is, considered commercial, but they may not own the building. I have a business. I have all of my personalties, which would be my desk, my computer. I may use the car for my deliveries, but I don't own the building. I'm leasing it. Well, my personalities were damaged. And that's where Tennessee Code 675606 allows the assessor to adjust the damages of personalities. But once again, we won't know how everything pans out until we get closer to that September 1 date. We have already obtained a list of properties that were damaged from the Department of Codes. However, we have to decide in looking at the property, that means visual inspection, what that property is worth. Codes has given us major, minor, as those type of codings on each property, but we have to go out and look at it and base it on a value, a number. And that is something that we're presently doing. But we've got to get people close to September 1st. Does that answer your question there?
It does. And one quick thing that I wanted to ask,
Sure.
Hopefully it will be something that would not cost a lot, that is already possible. You have a calculator on your website where people can actually put in what is their taxes going to be. That
we're gonna update. We're gonna update.
So my question for you is, before the rate is finalized in June, are you able to put something up there? Because people are asking, if we go with this 32% increase, what does that increase mean to me? Is there a way to do a different scenario? If it's 80 cents, if it's $1, what it will be? Is that something possible that would not take a lot of time and a lot of money that you can provide on your website?
Absolutely. That is something we can do. That is something we've done in the past. And we are working to, right now, I think it has the proposed rate out there. I have not looked at it, being that we are working on our May 20th mailer in reference to change notices to property owners. But the IT department is working on having that calculator to be given to allow for various situations of if the tax rate was 50 cents, if the tax rate was $1.03, what would that mean and what I would owe in reference to taxes? Yes, so it will give it will give you not only just the USD, which was the 32% increase, but it would also give the GSD, which was a 36% increase, because they're two different tax rates. But yes, the answer to that question is yes, we've done it before, and I will make sure that a notice will go out to you all to let you know that has been done.
Thank you. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Easy.
Thank you, Ms. Wilhor. Now, I appreciate all the information that you provided, but you gave us best case scenarios. There have been several businesses and some homes that are worst case scenarios where they did not have enough insurance to cover the cost of the repairs that's going to be required for them to restore their homes back to the level in which it was prior to the storm. How can we help those individuals? And I would personally like to talk to you about those businesses where you were talking about properties or personalities that you all can assess, because I know there's one building on Jefferson Street that was totally destroyed, and it was one individual, or he and his wife, that owned 3 businesses there, and it's just no way that he could recover the kind of investment that has been put in there. So I'd like to talk to you about that offline after this meeting, sometime later on this week. And one other thing I'd like you to consider, because I know there are a lot of people who may qualify for tax relief or tax freeze, and they don't know exactly what to do and how to do. And I would really love to see that to be an automatic thing, that they are automatically put into that tax rate, the tax relief and tax freeze. And I'd like to go to the state and work on something like that to help many of the people, because this storm and COVID-19 has really been negatively impacting a lot of people of color and in our North Nashville community. So if you would just marinate on those things for me, and
Sure.
we will be back in touch with you. We certainly appreciate you giving your time to us this evening. And are there
My
any
pleasure.
other questions? I don't have any other hands that I see. And
Council Lady,
yes,
if I could interject with the two items you like me to marinate on, I think one of them definitely warrants a response, and both of them really. But I do want to say to the personality, every year, whether it be real property appeal or personality appeal, you have in your toolbox the ability to appeal your value every year. The informal review has just ended, and as I stated, they will get information regarding change notice in that same mailing for people who appeal informally. But the formal review, the formal appeal, is the beginning of where you come and sit before the Metro Board of Equalization, which will convene on June 1st. And the person with the issue that we'll talk to about offline, I'll be more than glad to talk with you and take that information and help them understand or help them do their appeal that will go before the Metro Board of Equalization, because it's an independent board. It's not my board. Even my office can appeal the Metro Board of Equalization's decision. And we've done that in that response. And we've done it, we have to do it to the state, and that's a whole nother process, and I'm not gonna prolong that explanation, but yes, there is help for that person that you're speaking of, and I look forward to talking with you. But for everyone on this phone call, if someone has an issue regarding their value, and they're one of the people in this matter of damaged properties, we most likely have their property already in our purview, in our in our vision of saying, hey, we got to do visual inspection. Hey, we got to make an adjustment there if they're not ready by September 1. But for the personality, yeah, let's go ahead and deal with that one right now. We already have them, but it's very good for you to still share it with us. And I look forward to talking with you. But everyone can appeal their values, and the call center will open, and there has been one press release that was sent out. All the council members on this line should have it, where we spoke about the extending of our office to May 29th. But within that announcement, we talked about the fact that the appeals for setting a hearing opens on May 20th. So you can definitely have them call, but I would love to receive that information as well. In reference to the tax relief and tax freeze and make that automatic, I believe that is a very good idea, and doing so, you already know that filing for the tax relief and freeze has been extended to July 1 to give people more time to get it done. But you want to keep in mind, as you're going forward with your idea, Council Lady, is how would someone know a person's income level, because there are criteria to qualify. So go ahead and be thinking that out to help them understand how that automatic institution on each person's property could occur.
Right. Thank you so much. And I have, because, a lot of people's income has not increased at the same level as their value of their property. So it's been difficult for some of them to be able to match the increase in taxes that they have to pay now that their property is of more value. So
it's not, but I want to be clear, it's not of more value now. Once you've been
No. I'm just saying, in some of those homes from North Nashville, with the reassessment that was done
in 2017.
Yeah, in 2017, their property was of greater value than it had been previously.
That's right, in 2017.
Right.
But the value stays the same. But the value stays the same for the next 4 years. So if they're already on tax freeze.
Right, but considering the damage that many of them may have sustained for the tornado, that's the part that I'm speaking of.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. They would just let them automatically stay on it.
Okay.
Because they already qualified. Don't make them re-qualify again. I was just giving you an idea how you can approach that.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. So, then you can feel free to leave the call if necessary. We appreciate it.
If it's okay with you, I
Now
would
we
love
going
to
back.
stay with you on your call because this is my first meeting I've ever attended. So I love to kind of, stick around if you don't mind.
Right, and it's open to the public. Feel free to do so.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate
now
it.
you're quite welcome. We appreciate you. So we have Mr. Hughes and Mr. Harris still on the call, and I know that we're running close to our time that we're to be ending, but I do believe that these subject matters were very critical, and we needed to hear each presentation to its fullest. What I heard from Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes is that they wanted to work with the Minority Caucus in order to carry forward their suggestion of setting aside certain funds from this COVID-19. So I would entertain some discussion on that. And I see that Councilwoman Virtue has her hand raised, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We do have Representative Love that has joined us as well.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Porterfield, you have a question that you want to come in?
I did. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And thank you again to Mr. Hughes for the wonderful information that he provided earlier, as well as Mr. Harris. My question for Mr. Hughes was that you guys talked about 27% of the CARES funding, and I was just curious as to where the number, the 27% came from. Thank you.
The 27% stems from the population that we know via the census data for African Americans in Davidson County.
Okay, thank you. My follow-up question was, I know that you mentioned some of the disparities that you mentioned were disparities that are impacting both Black and Brown communities. So I wasn't sure if you all looked at the data combining the census data from both our immigrant communities and our Black community, or if it was just looked at from one community. So thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you, Councilwoman Porterfield. Councilwoman Virtue, is your hand still raised, or you have another question? Thank you. So, Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes, were there any specific ask that you had of the Minority Caucus at this time?
Clip, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. Yes, we would like to seek the Minority Council's support for our letter and all that is going to the mayor's office. It is being drafted. It should be ready to go to the mayor's office no later than the end of this week. We're going to try and get it there on the Thursday, and copying the Minority Caucus for this set aside of funds, which will be $32 million to be used in these three areas to assist our community. Because this is how the money was come to the state based on census population, and our African American community makes up 27% of the Nashville Davidson County population.
And within that ask, this is an opportunity that the Urban League can be a strong community support system for the caucus. As the caucus makes certain that we just don't get handed the 200,000, here's 500,000. Like, this is an opportunity to really address bringing relief to the community as it's spelled out within the Treasury Department role for this money. And I think it's vital, as Clifton has talked about earlier, that the Urban League who again is positioned and has been in contact with Representative Love on this issue to really be a strong force to work with the mayor, to work with the caucus, to be able to showcase and highlight through the data why the number that we're asking is vitally important for our city moving forward. We cannot bring relief to the entire city if we do not bring relief to the African American community as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Harris. We will certainly consider your ask. We do have Representative Love on the call now, and considering that his attention, the attention was brought to him in terms of the disbursement of those funds from a state level, would you like to share something at this time, Representative Love?
Thank you, Councilor Hurt. Thank you, members, for your patience. I had another call I had to finish up. But I've just been in conversation with Brother Harris and Brother Hughes based upon the unique position that I was put in to be one of only two African-American members who are on the financial accountability team for the state of Tennessee to decide whether $2.3 billion that Tennessee has received is going. And so I want to make sure that Nashville, and particularly persons of color in Nashville, did not get left out of, one, the city's allotment of $121 million and the potential $143 million that the state of Tennessee received on behalf of the members of Davidson County. And so we have our second meeting tomorrow, and we will be discussing the way we're going to look at dividing money up. And I want to be able to go in with recommendations from Minority Caucus, and council members to say to the governor and Speaker of the House and the members, here's what Nashville's minority legislative body has said that they need to have, but also leverage my position at the state to emphasize to the mayor's office that they could also fund these initiatives and help out our business development and our educational pursuits for shortening that achievement gap between children of color and other communities. So I'm open for questions about if anybody has any.
Thank you, Representative Love. Are there any questions? I think I see someone's hand. Councilor Lady Toombs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Love, what was that second number you said? You said there was 121 million that the city's already gotten, but there was a second number you said for money that's been received by the state?
Yeah, so here's how the formula works. In the CARES Act was $150 billion for states and local governments. Out of that amount of money, some money was taken out for tribal governments and for Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, which left $139 billion to be divided among the states. Each state got a minimum amount of $1.25 billion and then would get an increase in their allotment based upon the population of the counties in that state. If the state had a county that had fewer than 500,000 people, then the state received all the money for that county. If the state had a county that had a population of 500,000 or more, then the allotment was split between the state and that county. The county received 45% and the state received 55%. So when Nashville received $121 million, that was 45% of what the entire population of Nashville generated for the state to receive. And so Nashville's in a unique position to say, yes, we got $121 million, but there's another $143 million out there that the populace of Nashville generated for the state to receive on our behalf. And as you all know in government, if you don't know that you were supposed to get some money, then you don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And to follow up, when would you need something from the caucus or members of the caucus as far as initiatives that we would like to see funded? When would you need that by?
I'd say at least in the next 2 weeks, because this second meeting is probably going to move a bit faster between the second meeting and the third meeting, because the second meeting is going to discuss the money that we've received in and how they'd like to see it allotted. And I don't want to be in a situation where I come to the table with a suggestion when we're in week 3 of the meetings.
Okay.
And keep in mind, these dollars must be either expended between March the 2nd, I think, and December 31st, 2020, or we're in discussions now to see if we could actually encumber these expenses in this year, even though they won't be expended until next year.
Great. That's awesome information to have, Representative Love. Thank you very, very much. Councilwoman Vercher.
Yeah, thank you so much, Representative Love. So I know, and I don't know where it's at in the legislative process, but because I wasn't at the last meeting, but we had a resolution that was urging the allocation of certain funds. Is that needed for the state level, or would that hinder you to negotiate whatever agenda we give forward, that we present to you to move forward there at the state level?
I may have missed that resolution. Were you all asking to allocate funds?
The unrestricted relief funds for COVID.
I see. So here's the issue. The city is facing the same problem the state is facing. The COVID dollars we got must be spent on COVID-related expenses. So we're trying to figure out, as we go back the day after Memorial Day, how to deal with our budget gap without having to cut much of the budget, right? But if we can find a way to move some expenses around, then we could adjust our budget. So as city governments have been not receiving sales tax revenue, so has the state. And so we're trying to figure out how to use these COVID dollars to fill our budget, but the COVID dollars can't be used for that. Now, I'm going to use an example, but don't take it as the gospel, all right? So the state.
But Representative Love, couldn't one make the argument that everything is COVID related now under a pandemic?
Well, the example we'll use, I think we'll explain what I'm trying to get to. For example, the state promised an increase in teacher salaries, right? So that's heavy on our budget. Now, the state could take that pay increase away, okay?
Okay.
But then use the same dollar figure and pay it as a bonus out of the COVID money.
Gotcha.
That way the teachers still get their money, but you call it what you want to call it.
Right.
But what it doesn't do, it does not make us have a negative budget situation. And so we're trying to find ways to fill our gaps. And in the same vein, what we're also trying to do is find ways to pass legislation that increases funding for local governments and increases fees that you all can collect. So the resolution should be okay, but I'm not sure if it has much leg to it, because we can't give you unrestricted funds from COVID money. That's going to be some federal money, and I'm not sure where they are in having another stimulus act. Now, I'll tell you what would be good is if there's a resolution passed that encourages us to pass legislation that would increase revenues for the city, whether it be impact fees or other things that the city might want to take up to increase revenue. That way we can have on the record that the council is in favor of the state passing measures that either increase revenue or would reduce expenditures from the state.
Yeah, we've already filed the impact fee legislation.
From the city?
Yeah, from the city.
But we got to pass at the state level.
I think it's deferred.
It is.
Yeah.
We got to give permission to do it.
We were waiting on y'all.
I got you.
Yeah, my understanding is that the lead sponsor is working it at the state.
Yeah, Darren Jernigan we had a little hiccup. Somebody didn't understand what we were trying to do, and one of our own members voted against it. So we got that straightened out now.
Yeah, and then for us in the caucus, we just got to clean it up because we have colleagues that's advocating against it. So we have some work to do on our end regarding it.
If you want to, you can send me that draft of the resolution that you're talking about. I can look at it.
All right, sending it to you now.
Okay.
Thank you, Representative Love. Council Lady Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up question for Representative Love. Thank you for joining us today. The $143 million you mentioned that the state received on the behalf of Davidson County, are the same restrictions? That is COVID money, right? And do they have the same restrictions as far as related to education, health, transportation? Are there any restrictions as we're looking at ideas or programs that we're wanting to submit to you for potential funding?
No, I think the advance we have at the state level is that the city, if I'm not mistaken, had to submit to the federal government what they were going to spend the money on. And the difference is the state just got the money, and the only restriction we have is it must be COVID-related expenses. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And so one of the benefits I hope we can use is to try to help out metro schools so it takes the burden off of you all, right? And that's a situation where if this money could be used for after-school programs and the city can fund that through this, then it lessens the burden on metro schools. And metro schools, but also lessen the burden on metro government trying to find money for after-school programs.
Exactly, and summer programs too. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you so much. I know we have Councilwoman Suara and Councilwoman Porterfield. We have gone beyond our time, but I wanted to make sure that it's okay because I know this has been a very important and pertinent discussion. And I know that there are a few other things that needed to be discussed. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay with us continuing on with the meeting. And having said that, Council Lady Suara, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to keep it brief. Thank you, Representative Love,
yes,
for joining us. I wanted to ask the 143 million, could it be direct assistance to individual, or is it allocation that goes back to the city?
It could be direct to individuals. It doesn't have to go to the city.
And so will using it to help with unemployment because I know that people are not getting much from the unemployment from the state. I know that a lot of people are not qualified or they're getting less money than they thought they would get. Would that be considered COVID related? Because that's people out of a job.
Yeah, it could be. The question I would have would be, how would we get the money to them? What would be the vehicle? Because it had to be the state allocating the money to them in some shape, form, or fashion. Like take unemployment. The state was able to allocate the $600 extra because the federal government sent the money down. And the state system was just the vehicle that was used. And so that's the question would be, well, how would we do that? Would we take $20 million and put it into the state unemployment system and it just be for Davidson County residents? Then, that's one way to think about it. Or will we look for unemployment in a situation where we do job training?
Okay, we can think through that, but I'm thinking that any kind of relief built into the spending, whether it's rent relief or unemployment or something like that, will be a good use of that money. And so, but we can think through the vehicle. The last thing that I'm going to shut up now is, I know you and your colleague have a big problem with property taxes, and you've tied our hands so tightly with everything else with property taxes. Would this be an opportunity for you guys to revisit this and bring up what impact this is having on people? And maybe this is a way to change some of what you do up there.
Yeah, it's possible. I'll tell you, for those who don't know, I brought a piece of legislation a few years back to lower the age of property tax relief from age 65 to 62. Here's the issue with property tax legislation. It is a constitutional amendment. What that means then is that Harold Love has to pass the bill in 2020. 2021, he has to, well, I'm sorry, let me go back. I can't pass in 2021 because it has to be passed in the same General Assembly session. So I would have to pass a measure in 2021, then get it passed in 2022 by 2/3 of the body, and then it has to go on the ballot for the governor's election to be passed as a referendum at the state level, because it's a constitutional amendment. And so that's the difficulty with the heavy lift of that. Here's the other problem: because it is a local issue, even though we're permitting locals to do it, a lot of local governments see that as reducing their income. That was the fight I had when trying to get it passed a couple years back. Local government committee members were saying, my county mayor said that he don't want to reduce the age because that's going to reduce the amount of property tax that he can collect. But I'm open to have the conversation. Just want you to know what we're dealing with. We deal with property tax. It's a constitutional amendment. And so it's a 3-stage vote on that.
Thank you so much. Council Lady Porterfield, and following her is Councilman Taylor. And I think after him, that will end our question and answer period for Representative Love.
Madam Chair, I'm going to remove my hand. Actually, I was going to ask Representative Love to cover that. We discussed this a couple of weeks ago. So thank you, Representative Love.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so very much, Representative Love. Your information has been outstanding, and we certainly appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to join us this evening. Councilor Porterfield.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I see your hand again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I apologize. I put my hand down when you called on me. I have one question for Representative Love, and then one follow-up question for Mr. Hughes and Mr. Harris, and then also just for a point of reference, Council Lady Hurt, the next 2 agenda items are items that I requested to be put on the agenda, and I don't think that they will be long conversations. So I just wanted to kind of, for the sake of time, to let people know that we do have a few other items, but I believe that they will be, I don't believe that they would take a long amount of time. To Representative Love, my question was in regards to the Nashville Career Advancement Center. I know that under our current, the budget that we're looking at, it is likely that they're going to receive a cut in funding, and they do a lot of work around workforce development and getting individuals prepared for employment and helping them to overcome some of the barriers that they're having to get and to maintain employment. But with them losing funding, that program is at risk. Is there a way that some of that 143 could go towards programs like workforce development programs within Nashville, since we know that unemployment is up around the state and it's up in the city? Is there a way that part of that funding can go to some of our workforce development programs locally?
Yes, it can. Let me put this caveat in there, though. I think that's part of what Urban League and ASFA were talking about, though, was using Urban League in part of that workforce development to do training specifically that would impact directly the African American community. So I think we need to look and see with their funding also how much of the workload they share with the Urban League. And I don't want to speak for them, but I think that's the direction we're going is to say, make sure that the money just doesn't go to Nashville, right? But that at least a good chunk of it goes to organizations that we know will take care of our Black and brown populations.
Let me just add that the Nashville Career Advancement Center was also about a month ago put under the auspices of the Metro Action Commission, so that local attention that we are seeking, I think they will definitely have that opportunity to serve this local community, because I do know historically they have focused more on state level as it related to workforce development. Mr. Hughes.
I agree with Representative Love, and Clifton can speak directly to the workforce piece and their partnership with the Nashville Career Advancement Center, which I know has been in place for at least the last 4 years now. But specifically, the Urban League did have to halt some of its processes around workforce development, skills gap for people because of the COVID. And this is where Clifton can speak to the need for them to be able to pick that back up. As we see that already before COVID, unemployment in the African American community was upwards of 25% in certain census tracts across the city. But Clifton can speak to that.
Yes.
Well, before we get on more discussions about it, I want to stay true to our agenda, because the caucus actually was supposed to end the meeting at 7:15, and while we are right there with you, I wanted to make sure that I was respectful of people's time. And
Gotcha.
What I really wanted to do with Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes was to ask the Minority Caucus, once they receive the letter, that we, by vote, and in that letter, express our posture on whether this is something that up or down that we want to stand behind as they move forward in their effort once we receive the information from them. If that is going to be okay, I think that's the next step that we would take. And Representative Love, I want to thank you for being here with us, as well, Mr. Harris and Mr. Hughes. I appreciate that.
If I can make a statement, Councilor Hurt, just very quickly, unrelated to funding, but related to COVID, that I think the council needs to hear from me very quickly, if I could. Okay. Some of you may or may not know, but MDHA had been contacted by the governor's office about using the National Guard for some COVID-related testing, and the Black Caucus pushed back very hard against it. I personally had a conversation with the governor several times about this. To this date, what we have come to an agreement is that the National Guard will not have on uniforms, it will be in scrubs, and that way it'll mitigate the image of the National Guard going out there in uniforms to test persons in public housing. It's supposed to occur on Thursday and Friday this week, but I just want to give the information to the Minority Caucus before you heard anything else about it, to know that we are working on this, trying to mitigate this thing. It's a delicate situation because we want those members of our society in close quarters tested, but we don't want it to be militarized. Military, you know the word I'm saying, militarized. But I did want to let you know that very quickly that we're working to make it look better in that way. And if you have any questions about this or the budget, feel free to email me. Most of y'all have my cell phone number, and we can discuss the issue at greater length. I appreciate you all letting me on your call.
Thank you, Representative Love. Councilwoman Porterfield, you actually have the next two issues with the Office of New Americans and Chief Equity Officer. Would you briefly discuss those? And I know we have other business.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I had the second part to that question was very quickly to Mr. Hughes and Mr. Harris. With what you all are asking us for the support of the caucus, just to be clear, are you asking us to support a portion of the city's funding going directly to the Urban League for you guys to do this work? Or are you guys planning to do this in partnership with other organizations? I just needed some clarification on that. Like, are you guys working with Stand Up Nashville and the CLC and different organizations? Or is this the Urban League saying that you guys want to be the vehicle to go forward with this?
Well, we would be working in partnership with the other organization because, together, I think, we're stronger, than we are individually. And this is about, serving our community that has been neglected, for a long time. And so Yeah, so we want to make this, a collaborative effort.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. And Council and Madam Chair, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this information. I'm gonna take these two items out of order. The Office of New Americans and the Chief Equity Officer. I just wanted to make sure that we are reminded when we are looking at our upcoming budget proposals that those are things that we are not forgetting. I know up to this point, we've not seen those positions being filled, and those are positions that we all agreed upon at the beginning of our term, that this was something that was really important and that it hasn't been filled yet. So we just want to make sure that we're mindful when we are going forward that is something that's not being cut out of the budget. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's forefront. The conversation around the COVID-19 privacy concerns, some information has recently gone out with regards to the health department sharing testing results and information with MNPD. Addresses are being shared, as well as names of people that are testing positive. There was a lot of safety and security concerns around that. From MNPD's perspective, the way that it will work is if they were to get a call at an address, when they go to that address, it would pop up if there was a registered gun owner or someone there. That type of information will pop up. Well, the same thing will pop up if an individual in that home had tested positive for coronavirus. They would get an alert so that they would know to be extra cautious when entering that home and when dealing with the people there. If they were to make an arrest, they have the ability to look up the person's name to find out if that person has tested positive for coronavirus. This raised a lot of concerns, especially within the immigrant community, with information being shared with local law enforcement. The fear is that people will not get tested if they know that their information is being shared. So you all may have seen that the Black Caucus put out a statement about this as well. So there's some concern around how this practice needs to happen. I understand Chief Anderson's concern is that he wants to make sure that the MNPD officers are being safe. My concern and what I have pushed back on is that everyone needs to be treated as though they are testing positive, because we have so many people that are not getting tested. We have people that are asymptomatic, and if they haven't been tested, then those officers won't know if those individuals have coronavirus or not, so that they would need to treat everyone as though they're testing positive. So there's concern with MNPD not having enough PPE to keep them safe while they are interacting with the public. So there's just a lot of concerns around that. I wanted to make sure that it was brought to the caucus's attention about this. I'm working on a letter that I would love to share out with the rest of the caucus if anyone is interested in signing on to that letter, whether if the whole caucus would like to sign on, then it could be from the caucus. If the whole caucus does not want to sign on, it could be from any individual who would like to sign on. But we have to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe, and that includes our first responders and police officers, as well as members of the immigrant community. And we have to do our best to keep everyone safe. And again, people aren't going to test if there are privacy concerns with their information being shared out with local law enforcement. So I don't know if anyone else had something to add to that, but I had asked for this agenda item to be added last week when we first learned that this practice was happening.
Thank you, Councilwoman Porterfield. Mr. Hughes, I see that your hand is up, and I really want to move on with my agenda so I can conclude the meeting.
If my hand is up, then that's an apology on mine. I put something by accident.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Suara, I cannot maneuver my list anymore, so do you have a question that you want to ask?
No, not a question, but just shedding a little bit more light on that information that Councilmember Porterfield shared. I think it's important to know that the Southeast Nashville is considered a hotspot for COVID, and that's where a lot of immigrants members live. And a lot of people in that community have a very big distrust of the government. And so if we have something that is making them fearful to come out and get tested, that's not good for all of us. And so that's why it's important for us to make sure that, and I thank Councilmember Stiles and for initiating a conversation today and everybody that joined, Councilmember Porterfield, making sure that we have a balance where we're protecting our first responder, but we're also making sure that our minority community, Black community, are not afterthought as we're putting in policies. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We have other business. I know that Council Lady Toombs had withdrawn her bylaw revisions for this meeting and wanted to lend that time to the budget. Council Lady Virtue, is it anything that you want to share as it relates to the budget and the budget committee for the Minority Caucus?
Yeah, so at this point, everyone, well, we had the first budget hearings today, but everyone should have already read through the budget book where they can see distinctions between the funding of this year and prior fiscal years. You should be pondering your ideas as what you want our budget to look like. I can't get a read of the chair. Some instances, he's okay with the mayor's budget. I think as early as today, he said he wasn't. The deadline is Wednesday. The last budget hearings isn't until the 21st. I have some preliminary thoughts, but it's really premature without having those budget hearings finalized. Also, too, on the budget hearings, and I know today was a little rush, but it's up to us to slow that pace down, and it's up to us to make sure that we ask all pertinent questions, whether they were submitted in advance or not. That helps the budget process to be beneficial for us. We don't want to find ourselves in a position where we vote on something and approve something, and unknowingly there's an additional $5 million somewhere else. So a lot of the money is intertwined. You have employees that's drawing compensation off of multiple departments. Some budget line items that's noticeable, some it isn't. So you have to ask those questions. So right now, my advice would be just to go through your stuff, and on these hearings, ask as many questions as possible. And then at some point, I would say probably early next week, we're gonna need to convene, unless as a caucus we want to discuss what we want to get out of this budget now.
Okay, thank you very much, Council Lady Virtue. I do know that Council Lady Sepulveda had a concern that she wanted to bring to the body, and I'm going to let her bring that before us and let her close out the meeting. But I would say, for her sake, that dues are still due, and that she's taking them all day, every day, if you want to pay your dues for the Minority Caucus. And with that, Council Lady Sepulveda, you have the floor.
I would like to quote Tom Cruise and say, "Show me the money." But I would also I just wanted to mention real quick that I know we all saw that our NAACP president was a target for a racist act, and and that's what I wanted to talk about. But we got an update later today, and he was saying that the person had been apprehended. But I just I wanted to talk about it today if there had not been an action taken. So I don't know if someone has any more information or wants to talk about that. That's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Council Lady Sepulveda. No, I have not received any updated information, but anyone who has, I'll be happy to give them the opportunity to share. Council Lady Toombs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there was someone who was apprehended. That person allegedly has some mental health issues and admitted that he did place the target in Mr. Caldwell's yard and that he meant it as an amicable thing. Mr. Caldwell is proceeding with legal action as of now. However, the person was given a citation. And Mr. Caldwell is advocating for that person to go through mental health court so that he can receive any mental health treatment that he needs if that is necessary.
Thank you so much for that update. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns by the caucus at this time?
Chair, can I make one last comment? About the letter that Councilwoman Porterfield is working on. I would encourage everyone to sign on because the answers we got from today's phone call were inadequate and frankly very disturbing to me. And being the council woman who represents the largest immigrant population, I think there are underlying issues here that weren't taken into account. So I just want to say that and would love for everyone to sign on as soon as Councilwoman Porterfield has that letter for us. Thanks.
Thank you. And to that point, I'd also like to remind everyone that the positions of the Director of New Americans and the Chief Equity Officer, we've already submitted a letter to the mayor asking that those positions be funded and a part of his administration. So the request for us to remember that during this budget time, I would like to reiterate that we've already made our stance clear, and I don't think that we can do that too much at this time. But I really do appreciate you all being on this meeting. It's been an extended one, but I think it's been time well spent. So I thank you again and hope you all have a good rest of the evening, and good night.
Good night, Madam Chair, and thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good night.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.